Welcome to the She Births Show, a place to inspire your birth, evolve your parenting, and help you live a life you love. I'm Nadine Richardson, your host and creator of the scientifically verified birth education program, She Births. I'm also a mother, yoga teacher, doula, author, and speaker. At She Births, we have supported thousands of families around the world for over 13 years with our unique program, and our vision is to make birth better for every family around the world so that everyone experiences a beautiful birth no matter what unfolds. Not only do we help people have beautiful births, but we also give them the skills and the philosophy to enjoy pregnancy and make parenting easier. As well as our world-class birth ed, taken either face-to-face or online, in our app, we also have a free pregnancy guide designed to help you feel calm, connected, and inspired as you and your baby grow. We have a doula matching service, the perfect way to ensure you and your partner are completely supported throughout the whole journey. And we have our Soul Mama Circles, which are the perfect postpartum network to help optimize your mindset and design your life in parenthood. Remember, if you like what you hear today, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. If you're a parent, about to be one, fellow health professional, join us now for an inspirational deep dive into topics with experts around the globe. We hope you enjoy this special episode. Welcome to our bonus episode where you can ask us anything. There are so many questions that arise when you become pregnant and approach birth, and amongst all that excitement and love, it is normal to sometimes get overwhelmed and nervous, and it's the same in postpartum, of course. That's why we created our Ask Us Anything events, both on Instagram Live, and we share them now in the podcast. Today you'll hear my conversation with She Births postnatal expert Leah Sizeland. Leah is trained by me to run our magical Soul Mama Circles in Bondi, the Inner West, and the Northern Beaches of Sydney, plus on Zoom. She's a postnatal doula, yoga teacher, and mother of two, and an angel. In the first half, Leah shares how preparing and then chanting her way through contractions allowed her body to open during her first birth, but also how after that first birth she felt completely shell-shocked. In the second half of our conversation, we talk about the maiden to mother transition, the amazing new science that we have now of matrescence or maternal adolescence, how our brains change, and the rise of the feminine happening on the planet. Of course, we talk about why everybody, every mum, every family, every baby deserves that deeper heartfelt community with special support and guidance, because those days and months after birth are such an important time of change, where our brains are literally melting and rewiring anew. It's an opportunity for growth when we have the right container. I hope you enjoy, and I hope we'll see you at a Soul Mama Circle soon. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to give it a bit of time because, of course, hey, Carly, we're going to talk about our amazing, hey, Nicole, our amazing Soul Mama Circles today with our wonderful facilitator who's taken the baton from me. Hi, Amy. I'll take my glasses off so we don't have weird reflections. And hi, Lauren. We're going to answer lots of questions about what is a Soul Mama Circle. And we're going to start by talking about Leah and why she works with She Births. And we're going to just explain to people, what it really means to look after yourself and to be a part of a deeper community, a heartfelt, soul-filled community. I'll see if I can invite to join, get Leah on. Hang on one second. Invite. We run Soul Mama Circles every couple of months. Oh, there she is. Hello, darling.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a long time coming. Hi, ladies that are joining. Hi, Ange. Hi, Lani. Hi, Stacey in Orange. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been meaning to do this for ages, haven't we?
Yeah, ages. Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
I've known you such a long time now. I think I probably even met you before you were pregnant, just around Bondi, did I can't remember.
Yeah. I think more I started coming to your classes at Dharmashala. And I started I was doing a lot of I remember actually I was doing a lot of Ashtanga at the time. And I know exactly. And I loved it at the time. And then I remember going, oh gosh, the guy that I was going to, this teacher who was very advanced, but he felt very like a white man trapped in it. I mean, he was he was this lovely white guy, but I felt like he wanted to be an Indian man, and he was kind of trapped in this, like, I want to be Indian, but I'm totally white. And then his classes became very, very male. And I just remember one day thinking, I need to find somewhere different. And then I wandered down past the Dharmashala, and there you were. There was all the wonderful teachers that were in there, as if by magic. And then it felt like this beautiful feminine coming in, and I was like, oh no, this is where I'm supposed to be practicing, you know. So yeah, that's when we first met.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm happy you say that, because, you know, finding that feminine, you know, it's so beautiful and so nourishing. And this is the sort of season that we're holding now in our podcast and in our conversations, is the rise of the feminine.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about men or women here. I'm talking about the essence of feminine, that feminine power and surrender that comes through us during pregnancy and birth, and of course during motherhood. And it's partly hormone driven. There's neuroscience kind of changes going on in the brain, and we're going to talk a bit today about that, matrescence and so on. But it's nice we just started with the yoga, because I too remember, you know, that's why I created the prenatal yoga that I teach, because all that was available 21 years ago when I was pregnant was Ashtanga or geriatric yoga, you know, like it was just like, stretch this way, very careful because you might hurt yourself. Yeah. And then, or it was go to Ashtanga and like grab your big toe and hold out for 10 breaths. And it's like, oh my God, there was nothing kind of like spiraling under, you know, like feminine yoga as well. So anyway, it's nice to talk about that, and we'll keep talking more about the feminine. But I thought it would be cool. So we've started a bit with your pregnancy. Let's talk a little bit about your births, because how old are your kiddies now?
So I have Lucia, who is 9.5, and Ari, who's 5.5 now. So yeah, they were both incredible births, but both very different, very eventful. Ari's was very eventful. Lucia's was quite was everything I wanted to be, and so yeah. So I guess I'll start with Lucia's birth.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, she was well, I'd had a great pregnancy, and the day that I felt amazing being pregnant. I loved being pregnant. I felt sensual, and yeah, I think that's when the sort of feminine started to, you know, really rise in me, was just that feeling of just, having big boobs and having a big belly. And, you know, I just felt sexy actually throughout my pregnancy. It's really, you know, it's a lovely feeling. And so, so when Lucia was born, I woke up that morning, and like I said, I had a great pregnancy. I woke up that morning, I walked down to the beach, and I was listening to one of my she births visualizations. But that morning I felt so tired, like tired beyond. And it was kind of it was like a spring morning, an autumn morning. And I was like, oh my goodness, I feel, just tired. And I just remember falling asleep on the beach. And when I woke up about an hour later, I just felt like a bit of a stray dog asleep, just asleep on the beach. I'd just gone into this really nice, just tiredness, but very, very calm. And then I walked back just up O'Brien Street where I was living at the time. And then the day felt fine, nothing different, had Braxton Hicks, or what I thought was Braxton Hicks. And then a girlfriend came over in the afternoon. She said, "You want to go out for a walk?" And I said, yeah. And she'd had a baby 3 months before me. So when she arrived, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, no, I'm fine. I said, "Let's go out for a walk." I said, finding it a bit hard to sit down. But I did have this very hard bench seat at my table. So I was like, "I can't really sit down on at the table very well." And she's like, "Okay, well, let's just stay close to home. We'll go and, we'll go out for a little walk." And she obviously knew, but didn't want to make presumptions or put anything on me. And so we went out for a lovely walk. We had some food. And then just on the walk back, I was like, oh my God, this walk is hard. And then I had to sit down, and I only lived like halfway up O'Brien Street. So for anyone that's listening, O'Brien Street to Bondi Beach is, it's like 200 meters. So I had to have a little sit down just outside Sababa's at the time. And then I was like, oh, I am not comfortable. And then I thought, right, okay, maybe this is it. I said to Becky, I'm gonna go home. She's like, "I'm gonna leave you to it. Make sure Ollie's on his way." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Anyway, Ollie came in and he was like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable actually. Like I can't really sit down." And he was just like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "I'm just going to go for a coffee at Sean's house. Is that all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's fine." And then as he left, I just went, "No, it's not fine." Actually, I think I'm in labour. Because then I just got this contraction that was stronger. And I was like, oh, wow. So my pre-labour was I was quite unaware of my pre-labour. And so then this was about 5 PM. Ollie came back. He was like, okay, he started timing my contractions, and I think they were, 10 minutes apart at this point. Sort of between 20 and 10 minutes apart, as I can remember. And I just started like pacing around the house, and I was like, right, there's my bag there. I need my Sheba. All I need is a fully charged phone with my Sheba meditations on. That's all I could think of. I just need to have these meditations. And I called my mum, and I was like, "Mum, I think I'm in labour." And she was just like, "Don't worry, my darling. If I can do it, so can you." And at that point, she'd said that to me a couple of times, and I really felt like, oh my God, my mother is, such an incredible woman. And I felt, yeah, if she can do it, I can do it, I can really do this. And so that was a lovely little moment in time. And then after that, the contractions kept, getting nearer to one another. I think I was like wandering around the house with just like one earphone in. I remember Ollie being around, and he was just kind of organising everything, which was what he had learned in She Births on the course. He was like, I told him, I just need you to be there, to be my person so I can go inwards. And that's what he did. So it was wonderful because we didn't have a doula at that point. We didn't have a doula. So that was what we were doing. So anyway, he, was getting everything ready, asking me if I was okay, but I didn't really want him to touch me. I was just very happy wandering around, listening to the meditations and breathing. I was, started taking on some of the breath work that you'd spoken about throughout the course. And then after that, I just remember being at one of your yoga classes, and the contractions were getting stronger now. Ollie had called the hospital, and they asked me to speak to them on the phone, and they said, Keep her at home for a little bit longer. It's her first baby, all the stuff that they say to you. It's her first baby, stay at home, which is what we did. But then I felt like the contractions were getting stronger. And then at this point, I just remember thinking, alarm. And I'd been in one of your yoga classes at Dharmashala, and I remember you talking about the connection between the cervix and the jaw, and the seed sound of your base chakra being Lam. And because I was doing a lot of yoga pre that, I kind of researched that a little bit on my own. And I love sound, music, vibration. Stick me in a kirtan, I'll be crying my eyes out at the drop of the hat. I love it. And so for me, vibration felt
times.
Yeah, sorry.
And in Ibiza, enjoy that music too. Yeah. At times.
All about fun and music.
Yeah.
And so I just heard, alarm, I've really got to connect to this now. And so I just had a meditation in my ear, but every time a contraction came, I just felt this incredible feeling to just be very vocal and very deep. So I would just start be going like alarm at first, and then me and Ollie have been together for a very long time anyway, so he was just like, wow, she's going into another level of all of her holistic stuff. I'm just going to sit back and watch it all unfold. And then I just said to Ollie, I had a really strong contraction and I was in the toilet and I threw up hugely, and I was just like this is it. Then I went to the toilet, everything was coming out of all ends, and then the next contraction that came along, I was just like alarm really loudly. And then Ollie was like, okay, I'm going to call the doctor again, I'm going to call the hospital. So called the hospital, and then they made me talk on the phone, and a contraction came, and I just went like that down the phone, and she went, okay, I think you're ready, come on in. And so we were in the car on the way to the hospital, on the way to Randwick Royal Women's, and we got to the traffic lights. And anyone that knows Randwick, you get to Randwick and it's like traffic light central, and there's pedestrians, there's all sorts of things going on, and it was a really warm night as well, and I was feeling quite hot with obviously labouring. And so we had both of the windows down, and just as we were coming up to the set of traffic lights before the hospital, I just grabbed hold of the little pulley thing you get in the cars, and I just went like at the top of so deeply, so primal that the light went red because we couldn't go through, and there was these people kind of crossing the road in front of us, and Ollie just put his fingers on the electric windows to let them go up. He was like, babe, you are so loud right now. And I was like, I don't care what I am doing right now, but this feels so right. And so, anyway, ignored that, and just kept on staying with this one ear of listening to your voice and the meditations, and then alarming every time a contraction came along. And so
I just wish I was there. I just wish I was there filming that. It's just
I wish we filmed it.
It's so beautiful to feel that liberated, in the body, to come back to that being of an animal, and to have the of, just as people are joining now, just to have the gift of our yoga practice.
Yeah.
That we use our yoga to come into our bodies, not to, get sexy bodies and cultivate muscles and, sit still for ages. We use our yoga as women and that prenatal yoga to be able to come into the body and allow it to open, to yield. And that sound, lam, is like a big lotus flower opening in your pelvic floor. It's just that big opening of the base, and it's almost energetically people draw beautiful energetic drawings of pregnant women and labouring women, and you can see these unfolding lotus flowers, just sort of infinitely opening in the sacrum and in the base. And, you know, it just takes deeper and deeper connection to ourselves to let that opening happen. And that's a yoga practice. Like, that is what birth is, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And I just felt it was the most natural thing that I could do for my body at that point in time, that felt it was moving me through the labour. And I just felt, I just didn't want to care about anything or anybody. Like, you know, I had that, and you know, great that I felt that comfortable within my relationship with Ollie, and, you know, all of that stuff. Because I think at the time, the thought of having a doula was something that we thought about. I think at that point in time, you know, money was probably a bit of an issue for us. And also, I had a very strong feeling that I just wanted this to be something about me and him, like us together. And at that time, I felt that a doula might get in the way of that, or he might step down. He might go, the easy option, I'll leave all the work up to her. Where I really wanted him to step up for me, you know, in that moment. So, and he did beautifully. So we after, you know, the final alarm at the traffic lights, we got into the hospital, and they took me up to I was on midwife share care, so I went up to the birthing centre. Is it the birthing centre? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we went up there, and I didn't see any of the midwives that I had been doing my, you know, birthing, the 4 midwives that you're supposed to see. There were 2 different, well, there was a different person on. Anyway, I got into the hospital, and they tried to put a heart monitor on me, and I was feeling very uncomfortable about it. Didn't feel right. I was just very uncomfortable. But this is when she births really kicked in for me, is that I felt very empowered in the decisions that started getting kind of thrown at me. You know, I think I got a question of, do you need any pain relief right now? No, I was fine. I knew that I wanted to have a water birth. I went in with my birth plan, and with the birth plan, you know, I'd stated that, you know, it was a she birth, you know, I was a she birth mama. And she said they were quite respectful of that. They were very, okay, great. You know, you're with this lady, so I forgot her name. Anyway, she came in, and yeah, I just was in a room, and labour was sort of moving forward, and I was still lambing the whole way. I had my meditation in, and I was still lambing. But I do remember at one point, which is where I think a doula would have been so much more helpful, was I gave them my birth plan, and I said I want to have this baby in water. Like, I really felt the drawness to you know, birthing in water, and all the positive side effects. Yeah. And so but she said, oh no, I don't think there's going to be time to fill up the pool. And I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'd been in there for a couple of hours by this time, so there was time to bring in a pool and fill time. There was lots of time. And so then they said to me, basically, from what I can remember, because it was 10 years ago nearly now, but from what I can remember, from around 6 in the evening to 8, I was just pacing around the birthing. You know, someone came in, tried to check me. I didn't want to lie on my back at any point. And heart monitor, they really, I remember them being quite firm with me about having this heart monitor on. And I was just like, I don't feel like I need it. And then I just said to Ollie, you have to deal with this. Like, I have now, because I was having strong contractions. And And then, one midwife was knocking off her shift. So then another midwife was coming in. And I said to her, please, I'd really like a birthing pause. And she said, no, there's definitely no time. Tell me something else, how you want to birth. And I just said, over a beanbag. Just, she said, would you like a beanbag? Yes, I'll just have a beanbag. And then I remember being over this beanbag, and it must have been at the point where I was about to move into transition. And I just remember thinking, I cannot speak or talk to anyone. I just need to come very inwards. I was still lambing every contraction. And the lambing just sent me the whole way through, I felt. And then at the start of transition, I slowed off, I think, lambing. And I was listening to the meditation, but it was almost like I went so deep into a meditation that the nurse and Ollie both grabbed my shoulder, or not grabbed me, but, Leah, come, you're slow, everything's slowing down a bit. You need to kind of lift yourself up a little bit and, just move a little bit. You're too far, whatever you're doing, you're too far in. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I just remember kind of just swaying from side to side, and then a big contraction came, and they were like, this is it. Slowly push. And so I had a couple of pushes, and then I was just like, and I felt like, oh, the head's arrived. And then after that, I don't know how many pushes after that, but then Lucia was delivered, and it was beautiful. Also, sorry, I forgot to mention, through just before the transition, before I went onto the beanbag, and I swapped over midwives, a doctor came in and said, are you okay for a trainee nurse to be in here?
Oh, God.
I don't give a shit who's in here at this moment in time. Like, that's who so I just gave the thumbs up and just went, yeah, okay. And that trainee nurse, luckily we had a camera in there, and he came in and he took loads of photos. I was unaware that it was a male at the time. Whether that would have bothered me or not, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think I was just in such a zone with everything that, afterwards they fed Lucia up through my legs, realised baby girl, didn't have the cord or anything cut for ages. And I think the only thing I had was a tiny, tiny little tear. So I just went and had some stitches for that, whilst Ollie had her. And that was, that was her beautiful birth. And after that, I remember us being together in the hospital and just thinking, I've never felt so proud of myself in my entire life. I felt so empowered. I couldn't believe I'd given birth to, this incredible little human, that we did it, and I think I should have mentioned this beforehand, but the reason why I found she births and the reason why I did she births was not, obviously through the yoga, I was seeing different teachers going to Dharmashala, but I was one of the last women out of my kind of circle of girlfriends in Australia that were having babies. So, and I had a very, a lot of the girlfriends around me at the time were having traumatic births. A very good girlfriend had a traumatic birth. Another very good girlfriend had a midwife, be extremely terrible to her in the hospital. She just, I think she said that she wanted to give birth a certain way, and then the midwife would just leave her like that, and and it was a really, it was a time when, so much has developed in 10 years as well, I think, within the birthing industry, and myself as a human as well, as a mother. If I knew things now, I would have probably had a home birth. But at that point, it was like the hospital, not the hospital knows best, but I was kind of feeling that way, although there was, this beautiful enlightenment from she birth, but that really was the only enlightenment that we were getting at that point in time about birth. There wasn't a lot of other stuff around.
And now for a quick break. At She Births, we believe that pregnancy, birth and matrescence, the sacred postpartum, is an awesome rite of passage. Our free holistic pregnancy guide offers you 6 months of weekly support. Drop straight into your inbox or within our free She Births app, you can get content that will nourish your body, mind and soul. You can enjoy prenatal yoga videos, great recipes, birth affirmations, course discounts and more. From me and my team, the creator of the world's only scientifically verified antenatal classes, it is our gift to you. Sign up today and receive the free holistic pregnancy guide at shebirths.com/PG. That's shebirths.com/PG.
So for me, I knew that I had to change the narrative around what was being fed to me unconsciously through girlfriends. Yeah. And so I found, when I found She Birth, that's when I was like, oh my God, I absolutely love this course. Everybody needs to do it, So that was the birth of Lucia.
It's such a, I think it's such an amazing and beautiful birth story. And I love what you're sharing about, the culture of your friends, and the only place you were getting enlightenment was She Births. And I think that's a really powerful thing. Like, who's turning the lights on for you, as pregnant women out there? Like, who is allowing you to feel empowered? Who's allowing you to feel positive and hopeful and inspired? And I think a lot of women come to the prenatal yoga classes and they will say, this is the only time that I ever feel or hear positive things about birth or motherhood.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a culture of negativity out there, and we've all been eyes towards that negativity continually since we were little girls, that we do, when we're pregnant, really have to take responsibility for what's coming into our psyche and into our bodies. And it's a beautiful time to discern who you really are in that journey from maiden to mother, right?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it really was a time that I felt like, God, I have to wake up here. Like, I can't just go along as I probably would have done normally, I have to change. I don't want to have the birth that you just had, and I don't want to have the birth that, that to happen to me. I have to feel more empowered, and how do I get that information, And if I yoga, and at that point in time hadn't have heard, about She Births or met you and, everything else, I think things may have been different for me. I'm not sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think I have to do Ari's birth at another AMA, because I think people hear about this maiden to mother transition, because Ari's birth was very different. Little Bubba that spent quite a bit of time in ICU, and I think it's a really important story to share. You had to birth on your own down in Wollongong. Ollie wasn't even there, wasn't it? It was a weekend away or something like that.
Yeah. He was, he got there just in time, but the calamity of events that happened.
We need to give it that space. We need to, I don't know what we were thinking we could do 2 births in half an hour. Let's give half an hour to Ari's birth next time we talk, because it's an amazing one. But let's talk about this maiden to mother transition and, what that's called now, and that term is becoming more and more well known, is matrescence. And understanding that, as we birth our children, we're also birthing a new us. And you could think of it as maternal adolescence, which reminds us to think of it in terms of a process. It's not something that happens overnight just with the arrival of a baby. But there are lots of dramatic changes that take place, we know, emotionally for women, but actually now in the last couple of years, we can actually kind of map that out in the brain and in the endocrinology. So in the neuroscience and in the hormonal orchestration. And that, even though I've had the Soul Mama Circles going for the last 13 years, She Births has been going 14, and I think Soul Mama Circles have been going for 13 or 12 or something. I think we know now, like, why it is so needed.
Yeah, so needed, so needed.
And I've been to Soul Mama Circles twice. Tell us a bit about your experiences of them.
Well, my experience of my first Soul Mama Circle was, I just felt after I had Lucia, I was not ready for what postpartum meant. I was very, I was shell shocked. In fact, at looking after and keeping a little human alive, and I think that, you know, in culture we're just told that you do it and you get on with it and it all happens naturally and everything else. And yeah, it does to an extent, but I don't think anything can really prepare you for postpartum. So the more you prepare for postpartum, the more you surround yourself with women that are, you know, like-minded, the easier it will become.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, the question was my thoughts about the Soul Mama Circle. So yeah, I had Lucia. She was 3 months old when I joined the Soul Mama Circle, and 3 months previous to, you know, the months previous to that, I got put into my council Soul Mama council group, women's group.
Yeah.
And that for me was a real, you know, they were all lovely women, but there was just not much connection going on. And, you know, and it felt, I felt then even more lonely than ever, because I didn't have my parents around. You know, they're obviously in the UK. They'd come out to see me, but then they'd go again. So real life on an everyday basis was like, my girlfriends they'd all had young babies. So, you know, we were all intermingling and, you know, seeing each other, but babies were sleeping at different times. So, you know, it wasn't just the drop of the hat, go and see someone. And so when I first met the Soul Mamas, I was just like, oh my God, I've just come home. All of a sudden, they're all women that are at the same sort of similar stage as me. And and we had that, you know, that one meeting at the Dharmashala at the time. And then we went off with our topics and we carried them on and we went to each other's houses, and it just felt very community. I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly growing a community of lovely women. And as time went on, you know, that circle, Lucia was a little bit older than all the other babies. So as she was starting to walk, it was becoming a little bit harder for me to kind of join, but it still felt like a very incredible moment in time, because I'd made those connections, and you know, I'm still in touch with a few of them even now. Like one of them now lives just up around the corner from me. So now Lucia and her little girl, you know, play together up here. So it's, you know, it's crazy how it all filters through, and we all, you know, and then my second Soul Mama Circle after I had Ari was really beautiful. And again, we're all still very much in contact. We've all moved out of Bondi from where we are, but, you know, we're still in a WhatsApp group, and, you know, from time to time, I mean, it's 5 years ago now, but we'll drop in and, you know, we'll chat. I'm very, you know, talk to Grace a lot. I mean, I'm in training with one of the other beautiful soul mamas, Ange. So, you know, there's lots of different connections, but how the Soul Mama Circles held us was, you are at a same place in time, and it's the biggest rite of passage of your life when you have a baby. So you need to talk about in-depth things more than just the surface stuff. And that's what I feel Soul Mama Circle does. It really brings in the deeper conversations to lead to deeper connections and deeper friendships.
Yeah, that's right, because these things are changing. Like how you do self-care, what is your identity in the world, how do you want to parent, what is your relationship like with your partner, what does sexuality mean for you and how is that changing? Like these things, these topics that we had, and what does your birth story mean for you? Like they are actually changing whether you like it or not. And the culture around us and our busy kind of industrial, patriarchal, individualistic lives means that stuff is actually just going to change unconsciously, not necessarily for the better. And because it is so busy and overwhelming being a new mum, there is absolutely no doubt about it. And we are exhausted, it's true, but unless you start to have those conversations, I promise you will not get the same results in the next couple of years of strength and connection and foundation for your family and connection with your child, as well as the new woman that you really want to grow into and dream yourself into, right? Like, because you just will not do it unless you are called into that accountability.
Yeah, 100%. And I believe that with the way we share as well, with the topics that we have, it's what do we call them? Tribe topics and tools. That we've said that before. It's all about the tribe you make, the topics we speak about, the tools we then talk about to help through postpartum. I mean, that changes, from circle to circle with us as well. We've developed different things, don't we, as we brainstorm, as time's gone along. And I truly believe that birth is, like I said, such an incredible rite of passage. There's so many variables. It's so different for each birth, each person, that when it comes to having the baby, you need to deconstruct what's just happened to your body. Your body's just done a marathon. You could have had trauma in it. You could have not had trauma, but there could be questions that haven't been answered. And if you don't share all of that, that's going to be stored in your energetic field as some type of trauma or unanswered. Then you'll get into a pattern, a habit pattern or a thought pattern. This was your way of being, and that's not. It's the way things unfolded and the lessons you take from that. And I believe that when we go into Soul Mama circles, all of this new learning comes. Each woman has their own wisdom, and it all unravels with the conversations that we have, and then they are empowered postpartum because they've understood that, whether their birth was incredible or whether it was traumatic, they've had, there's so many lessons to be made because there's so many different changes, as you said. The richness of the circles is each woman steps into her own wisdom and her own knowing, I think.
And I think not many of us as women have had that experience of sitting and being heard. So I just really want to emphasize, how common it is. The reason I created She Births the Soul Mama Circles, was because I went to the council group and what was being held as a sort of alternative to that, morning tea with mums up at Marie Burroughs's place in Bondi Junction when that was still going. And I went to both and I felt extremely lonely and completely unheld in the experience of sharing my birth story. And it actually, by talking about it in a place where I was not held, I re-traumatized myself. And so learning to share and learning to hear yourself in a room of presence becomes a powerful way to know who you really are. And the teaching is not to plan what you're going to say, but to actually speak in a spontaneous way from the heart. And as you do that, we actually lift layers and layers and often travel deeper. And that's how we then access our truth, our wisdom. And so in the circle, I just wanted to emphasize that because it's,
yeah, great.
You know, like, just because there's a talking stick and we're learning to like have little ears on our hearts, you know, which actually as mothers, you know, we really do. We are living from this heart center 100%. Everything's gone from base and sacral up to boobs and heart, right? It's such a vulnerability, but we offer that vulnerability to our sisters and to ourselves. And it's in that process of being heard and also speaking that we discover our truth, our knowing, our authentic selves, our power, our wisdom. And it's very different to what I imagine 99% of people have experienced. So it's very different to counsel. It's very different to other groups. I had been part of a women's group for, I think, 8 years prior to having Leroy, maybe a bit less. And so I knew that space and I wanted to merge that with the mothers group. So that's why it's a soul mama circle, this cross between the mothers group and a women's circle, a traditional women's circle. Yeah, and it's just so magical, Leah.
It is. And it really is that. It really is those two amalgamated together, but on such a deeper level, and the richness that comes from them, the wisdom that comes from them, just blows my mind. Every circle we run, I just go, oh my God, I just absolutely love doing this so much. You know, a lot of the time I'll be crying when the women are crying. You know, you feel it. It's like an unraveling of the feminine and this wisdom just dropping in layer by layer by layer, and everyone owns it, and there's no judgment. And I think that is what the core of it is, because, you know, you can go to a mother's group and talk about poo and wee and how long you've been on the right boob or the left boob or whatever, you know, comes up, which is what was coming up a lot in my counsel groups. And, you know, there's only so much of that you can talk about. I mean, you're dealing with all of that stuff in your brain anyway. You don't need to be talking about that with other women, really. I mean, obviously, those things and topics and subjects are important to talk about if you've got questions about them. But the fundamentals of yourself moving from this maiden into mother it's such a depth, and it's such a rite of passage that it has to be addressed, and there has to be awareness around it. Otherwise things would just get, I believe, just pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, and then it will explode at a later point when it might not be as easy to come up and clear and, you know, be open and released.
Yeah, so those 3 T's that we create through the Soul Mama Circle are tribe, and we have our topics, which the women just love. Like, every woman always says how much they love the community. They stay in the community. They share resources, ideas, do other things together. The babies grow up together, but they love the. And then when we get to that end of our time, the facilitated time, that 7 weeks, we create a list for the next round of topics. And we've got, like, you know, I think another 20, 40, 50 topics that have been used over the years, and we sort of craft that according to the group, what they want. And then, of course, let's talk a little bit about the tools that we use and how we help people with the sort of practical tools, very much like She Births, those inner and outer resources. What are some of the tools that we bring in?
So a lot of the tools we bring in is visualization and little meditations, a lot of Shakti, like bringing awareness around your Shakti energy, around this beautiful feminine energy that you have, and what that looks, you know, how your body has, you know, different energy patterns. Clearly you're a lot lower in energy as a new mum, so we'll adapt like a Shakti, introduce like a Shakti shake or something like that, just to start to tune into your body on a physical level, so that mentally you can feel rested. other things, you know, music I bring in, like I've got that sexy Shakti playlist that I send out to the women when we're going through sexuality, you know, just all these different tools that can come in, and just gentle asanas to put women in, you know. Breathing, breath work.
I like bilateral kind of settling of the brain, and also oh my god, I've forgotten the name of it. It's my favorite. What's this one called again? I love havening. Havening, so calming, so grounding. And sometimes when it's been needed, even like the EFT, the emotional freedom techniques and releases, the tapping can be good for beliefs and so on to bring in. So there's lots of really practical physical tools, and then the nurturing visualizations to allow people to drop in. And we, like you say, explore those different energies.
And now for a quick break. Contrary to popular culture, She Births believes that childbirth can be the best day of your life. It is designed perfectly to be empowering, enriching, and bonding. An awesome rite of passage. Our childbirth education programs have helped thousands of families around the world since 2008, allowing families to not only feel empowered through education, but also connect with their innate birthing wisdom to create the best birth possible and begin their parenting journey with confidence. She Birth's unique methodology was scrutinised in university trials and has been published in the British Medical Journal for improving birth outcomes for both mother and child. I'd like to invite you to begin preparing for birth today. Just go to shebirths.com to discover our 2-day weekend face-to-face courses or access the online courses from anywhere around the world. That's shebirths.com. Create your beautiful birth with the world's only scientifically verified antenatal classes.
What else do people say they really love about the She Births Soul Mama circles?
I think that a lot of women just say how they feel like I hear this a lot, and on every circle, it's almost like a wow dropping in. I didn't know that I needed that. I did not know that's what I actually needed. I thought I had a group of friends, you know, I thought that would be, but I think the wow comes in from where actually you need to be met where you are. And that's what the Soul Mama circles do. They meet you where you are at that point in your journey of postpartum. That's, like you said, where you're held, where you're heard, where, you know, you laugh, you cry. But a lot of women make deep friendship connections, you know, like Ari's group. I know like 3 of those mamas have moved up near around the Northern Rivers now, are all connecting. Fuji, Rebecca, you know, all of those guys. There's a deep sense of somewhere along the line throughout both of my Soul Mama circles, and I believe this is with most of them, is that there is a deep sense of friendship and connection, and it carries on. And there's the wow factor and the connection, I think.
I think you're 100% right there. I did not know that I needed that. And I think that's so important for any mums that are listening right now. If you're pregnant, got a baby, you are sleep deprived, you are in a state of overwhelm, you are in a state of service. And when you are in a state of service, you will not put yourself first, particularly financially. You're probably in the mindset of like, my job is to make the money go as far as it can, and my partner's job to make it. You know, you're in that, what I, you know, to a certain extent is in part poverty consciousness, or current economy kind of consciousness. We know that too. You know, there. And at the same time, full of estrogen and you're full of oxytocin. And these are the adaptive, keep the peace hormones, which is not about putting yourself first. And yet, the woman who does the Soul Mama circle says, I did not know how much I needed that. and it has changed my life, and I cannot imagine my life without it. So I think anyone who's listening out there, they really need to trust that the Soul Mama Circle is here to hold them and to help them and to make their life richer and better, and their motherhood journey and their matrescence process much more empowering. That's what I reckon. Yay for oxytocin. Yeah, but you got to remember yourself, because you're not raising your child in a village, and the village isn't here unless you actually put out for it. And that's the same. You would have had a doula. You wouldn't have to seek one out and use our booking service and pay for one in the past. But that's not the way the village exists or the life exists here. We have to seek these things out, these natural, traditional ways of being for ourselves. And I promise people out there, you're so worth it. You are so, so worth it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. And I also believe that, you know, one of the mamas said to me, this has changed my life. It's changed my whole past, but postpartum period. If I hadn't have had this, you know, and it's still, it just fills me with so much delight, because we have the WhatsApp groups, and I, you know, like the last group, you know, I see photos of everyone meeting up. The babies are older now. Like it's so precious, and I don't think you realize that until you've got it, you know. So yeah, any new mum out there who feeling like they need some support, then I truly believe that this is a beautiful thing you can do. Give yourself.
Thanks, darling. It's so true. Well, let's go to our quick questions that people have asked. Off the top, we've got Jess, who says, do any second-time mums join the Soul Mama Circles? Absolutely. Every circle, we have at least one or two second-time mums, and they absolutely love it. I think they're often our biggest advocates as well, because they've had the experience of going through maybe not having a Soul Mama Circle, and then they have it and they're like, oh my God, this is like the best. There's one come in. Hey ladies, when would it be best time to join a Soul Mama group? Leah, do you want to do that one?
Yeah, I think any time up until sort of 3 months, maybe just a little bit, maybe 4 months, but I would say from birth to 3 to 4 months, that would be the best time. Yeah. Because after the 3 months, babies start to be crawling and wandering around a lot, and then it's just a little bit harder to kind of hold that space. It's so sacred at first because babes are in arms and different things like that. But yeah, that's...
Even if you get out of the group or a few sessions with babes in arms, it's okay if they start crawling, of course, and moving around. Or, you know, or even sometimes partners might be on paternity leave or whatever, and they walk the baby for a bit, so that if you come a bit later and you've only found us a little bit after that 4 months as well, that's totally fine as well. Aileen asks, how can we bring calm and serenity into the first few weeks after giving birth? So do you want to give your top tips for that?
I, Alina, would just... I would just make sure that postpartum you really tap into your feelings. Some people like to stay at home for 40 days, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I would just make sure that if you, your partner, anybody you love and trust, you're allowed within your birthing area, your birthing space, your home space, and just make sure you've got just lots of love coming in. You don't want anything else to kind of... You just don't need anybody else coming in that doesn't necessarily bring that energy. And I also feel that if you've got a fridge and a freezer stocked with nourishing, wholesome, beautiful food, then that's the best. That's all you need to do. And sleep when the baby sleeps. You know, just go with your baby. And yeah.
And another question there was, are groups all over Australia? Where can we find a group? So we have a group in the eastern suburbs, which is face-to-face, that Leah runs. And then we have our groups on Zoom, which is for people all over Australia and New Zealand. Generally, we stays in our time zone. And you might think, oh, the Zoom one, I don't really want to do it. But again, those Zoom girls are still meeting up, still connecting. Actually, often find a lot deeper richness sometimes in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting, the Zoom groups. They really have a deep connection, a lot of them. So, yeah.
And the babies are often there. You can lie in bed with your baby on your boob or whatever, or feeding. And it's kind of cool as well to not have that stress of leaving the house, which I think is a really nice thing, especially if you've got 2 kids as well. That can be a really good one. I like what you said about that calm and serenity, checking in with how you feel. And I think a really beautiful practice, and it's going to kind of tie in with the 2 other questions. How do I move more from my masculine into my feminine? I'm a planning person and I'm due in 5 weeks. And then there's another one, like, how do we set boundaries with family and out-of-town visitors before and after birth? So that's a really interesting thing because, it's often that very masculine energy that sets the boundaries. But it's great to hear a question acknowledging that we are moving more into that feminine energy, especially in those last few weeks of pregnancy. And one of the things that came to mind just from your sharing then, it just reminded me, and I'm practicing it myself. And I just did an interview with Alison Dado, who wrote her book, Queen of Menopause, for the podcast. And really the essence of good feminine self-care is going into yourself and asking yourself, what am I feeling now? What do I need now? And literally you do that, you listen and you do it. And then 5 minutes later, you might just have to, what am I feeling now? What do I need now? And it's as simple as that, right? Listening. That's the art of going in and listening to self. Don't you reckon?
100%. And I feel like, it's just you listening to the energetics of yourself, the subconscious. And the more you listen to that, the more things will flow, the more energy will flow. And just on those ladies that have asked those questions, exactly what you just said, Nadine. How do you feel about that person visiting? Is it going to bring you joy and love? Brilliant if it is. If it's not, maybe you just put them back for a couple more weeks, until you really feel strong within who you are at that point in time. Because I remember going up to Bondi Junction, I don't know, ridiculously early after I'd had Lucia to get something that I probably didn't need. And I had a panic attack. Literally, I had to get out of there because I was just too much of everything awful. It was, and I'll never forget that. And I was listening to myself. I was listening to what I thought I should be doing, getting the, swaddle, organic swaddle, or whatever it was at the time, like silly,
So it gives me goosebumps, that story, because how scary to have a panic attack while you're there caring for a child. You're in this place where you don't know anyone. So overwhelming. What were you doing? Walking around Westfield like a lost woman. We all do it. I'm happy, and I still have to ask myself, what do I feel now? What do I need now? And really practice that muscle, because we lose it because the whole world is set up. Every bit of advertising, our telephone, we considered a consumer. You're a user or a consumer, to the whole capitalistic world. And so it's continually feeding you. Come out of yourself. You don't have the answers. Come to us. We'll fix you with a product, Just
exactly. At that point in time, she's not sleeping. I'll get the new organic, whatever it was, swaddle to help her sleep. That's going to get her to sleep. No, it's not. Of course it's not. She just needed me. She didn't need the bloody whatever it was at the time, but hindsight's a good thing, hey?
We're growing and we're sharing and we're here to share our wisdom. And so, just in wrapping up our beautiful conversation today, I hope, anyone who's listening, this has been really helpful. Beautiful Leah, I'm so happy and so grateful for you to hold the space of the beautiful Soul Mama circles with me. And the women just absolutely adore you. You are the queen of the Soul Mama circles. We'll share the throne together for sure. And then I want to let people know there are 2 more spaces left in our Bondi Soul Mama Circle, which starts next week on Tuesday, the 20th of September. And there's 2 more spaces left in the Zoom Soul Mama Circle, which also starts on Tuesday, the 20th of September. And then what we do is we have the dates of all the upcoming mothers groups. We highly recommend you book in before you give birth, so that you've got that locked in, you've got your space, you can start connecting with the knowledge and with us in that way, and you won't miss out. We've got the next one, I think, after that is in May. So over the holiday period, it's a bit of a slower time, a bit crazy. So I think that's the next one. So yeah, reach out to us if you've got any more questions. The link to book is in the bio on the Instagram, and also you can find it on the She Birth site as well. In wrapping up, Leah, because this is the season of the feminine rising, what you've talked a bit about how that feminine rose within you, but what would it look like in the world if the feminine had risen?
Wow, I feel if the feminine had risen, we would be sitting in this golden time of neutrality. I feel like it would be a very neutral, loving place to be. I feel like that Mother Earth would be being looked after. I feel like there'd be a huge breakdown of all these bullshit systems that we have to, or we feel like we need to abide to. I feel like there'd be a huge and deeper compassionate feeling towards humanity altogether. I just feel like there would be nourishment with everybody, more understanding. Cultures around the world would be held, would be able to live, and would be able to bring forth their wisdom. I mean, gosh, there's so much wisdom in so many different cultures that, in our culture is being completely lost. So I just feel like if the feminine had rose, we would be all honouring each other. Yeah.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And that's what you do so beautifully when you hold space for the mothers groups. You really honour everybody for who they are, their uniqueness and their beauty.
I'm Nadine Richardson, and you've been listening to the She Births Show. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. We'd love to know what you would like to hear more of. You can find me and my team of amazing doulas and educators at shebirths.com and our awesome community on Instagram and Facebook. Within any good app store, you can download our free pregnancy guide via She Births, 2 separate words and plural, as well as access a range of online courses. Remember, when it comes to having a better birth, an easier transition into parenthood, your education is your empowerment. Don't forget to check out the catalogue of previous podcasts, and thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the show.